They lost their streak.
They lost their streak.
No.
Yeah, your save game gets deleted if you don't play every day.
But yeah,
or
that's
maybe
that,
every day you don't play, it goes back an hour or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it
just
pulls
I
you
like
back.
that,
Like, I
yes.
gotta
That's
replay
actually
this part.
great.
now.
yes,
It's a brutal
that's
game.
amazing.
No one will play it. They're like, screw this game. I'm
No.
throwing away my time.
No, people will play the Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Nerd Nest podcast. It's a new year. We've got the full crew, and we've got a lot to talk about, starting with both Cary and Russ have in their possession, or at least they had in their possession for a short time, the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus Go DS XL,
Super.
whatever, Flip.
Yeah. Max.
They had this thing, and I thought that we could start off the new year talking about some new hardware. So, Russ, start us off with what, like, has Intel finally leapfrogged AMD with this new chipset, or is it more the same?
I think in terms of this, I think Cary's going to have a better answer for it. But I will say, from my perspective, it's not better. It's like about the same gameplay experience in terms of just you turn on a game, 40-ish frames per second or whatever it happens to be, and the game runs well. It's smooth and it doesn't pull a ton of wattage. But if it does, you've got an 80 watt hour battery that can just deal with it anyway. And so, gameplay experience, it was very similar to just the ROG Ally X experience, where you just turn it on and you're like, oh, this is playing the game, and I'm not really worried about battery life. And that's kind of where I like to be. And from that perspective, it was great. There's other things to talk about in terms of like ergonomics and all that other kind of stuff, whether or not it's better to play than the Ally X. But in terms of just leapfrogging Intel versus AMD, to me, it felt like it was like, oh, they finally caught up. And that's what I felt like.
Yeah.
Cary, will you concur?
Oh yeah, that's 100%. So we're back almost like 4 years ago, back to when AMD, we're back in the same position that we were with where AMD was. AMD for generations kept on releasing a newer AMD mobile chipset and kept putting their older GPU in there. So for years, 5 years, we had Vega as a GPU that would go in there. And you're like, guys, you have RDNA 1. When are you going to put that in there? And Intel would like catch up a little. They went from their Ice Lake to had their like Mega Gens GPU. And then Tiger Lake, we had their first G GPU, which is the new architecture. When they went to G in like 2020 with Tiger Lake, effectively, Intel had a GPU that was just as good as Vega. And it's like, okay, well, these two are kind of comparable. And then literally after that, we had the Steam Deck, which had RDNA 2. And it's like, it blew the doors off. It was like literally 2x better at a minimum. And where RDNA 3 and RDNA 3 out of 5, these are essentially kind of like there's some plumbing underneath that is different, but there is not enough there that it can do 2x with the same amount of what is delivering there. So if the bandwidth is the same, you're really not going to get a whole bunch. But now we're at a point where Intel has caught up to effectively RDNA 3.5, their big bad boy 890M, right? So it trades blows back and forth. And like Russ has said, you're not going to get a earth-shatteringly different experience between them. It's going to be relatively the same, and in some instances, it's going to be kind of worse, right? It's not even going to. It's you're kind of waffling in this weird area where it has all this stuff, but because developers don't even target it, and just general driver problems, you just have issues. But at the same token, that's super impressive for Intel because like they're catching up again. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Ultimately, we're still where we always are, and everyone's waiting for Steam Deck 2 like performance, and we have not arrived there, and everyone's kind of dragging their feet. There are some interesting things that I guess we can't talk about yet. But yeah, it's we're right around the corner. Perhaps by 2026 or 2027, we'll see a that leap that we're waiting for.
Just so everybody knows, because a lot of people who are watching this are very Steam Deck focused, and they're going to see what Cary just said and us all smiling and laughing, and they're going to think that we know something that they don't. We don't know anything that you don't about Steam Deck or anything that.
Like a small thing, like whenever I see like Half-Life 3 rumors, I'm like, that can't be true. They haven't said anything to me yet. I'm like, they don't talk to me anymore.
I think even in their height of talking to you, right? Like they're very compartmentalized. So I'm sure they.
But there's a difference. There's a difference. Anyway, there's like that part of me that was like, oh, we're buddies, and then it's like, oh,
yeah,
we're no buddies.
They left you on red.
Yeah, like, oh.
Yeah.
I've got two emails from Valve. One was like, hey, do you want to try out the Steam Deck OLED? Send us your address. And the next one was like, okay, we sent it out, embargo is not there. And that was it. And I was like, I think I responded with a question, nothing. But I got those two, I got them saved. I'm like, look at that email from Valve.
They've replied to me a couple of times, but very, very little. I understand where I live in their minds right now.
Right.
Right.
Had I known that I had like an amount, like a token, like a certain amount of tokens of asking, like talking to them, I would have been far more wiser with, like I was going to say, it's like making stupid wishes, right? Like, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and like, ping, you're like, oh, cool.
Can you put Oculink in this thing?
Yeah. Like, you start talking like, oh, I'm all out of tokens. I asked for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah. I will say about the MSI Claw, Cary's got a longer history with this kind of stuff. But for me, I got into handheld PCs basically around the time of the Steam Deck and, that kind of stuff. So I had a couple INEO devices I tried before that, but not much, And so I've always thought of AMD just as being better when it comes to running on handhelds. And that's just because I live in that little world where that's where it started for me. And so this was the first time where I was like, oh, Intel actually is good. I know it used to be good, but I didn't know anything in terms of just like integrated graphics and how it could perform. And so I was pleasantly surprised with the MSI Cloud. But like Cary said, all of those bugs and everything else where sometimes just drivers wise or just from the software itself just doesn't play as nicely as AMD does just because of time on task with developers working with AMD more. But yeah, it's been good.
You know what's funny is like back in the old days, so it's a kind of a stupid name for a GPU, but Intel used to call their old GPUs, they used to call them gens. So like a generation, a short name for generation. Mm-hmm. So gens, and that was it. And the weird thing about that is that Intel's GPUs were never good, but they were always super reliable. Like you throw any API at it, and it ran. You never had problems with it. And this was like historically true. So like in the GPD Win 1 and the GPD Win 2 days, those ran on gens, and it would just run anything with like no fanfare. Now it would do as best as it could, and then kind of that's it. But when G came along, that's when everything started like collapsing. Like it's like everything was like apparent, like how bad the new drivers were. So it's really it's just interesting. They have a lot of work ahead of them, but I'm still excited just because any type of fire that's under AMD is better for us. Yes. And I don't know when NVIDIA would ever, maybe they just care about Switch 2. And they're just
NVIDIA just cares about AI. That's what they care about. Just selling GPUs so that it can be used for bullshit.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Rich?
What would you say would be a good reason to potentially pick up like a Claw over an Ally X if I'm in the market for both? My initial thought would be potentially like if I'm going to use this as an actual computer or something, right? Like the CPU, does that outperform the CPU on an AMD?
So single-threaded wise, So single-threaded wise, it can, but multi-threaded wise, it won't.
Yeah, I honestly didn't do a lot of computer tasks with it because it just really feels like a gaming handheld, and I really want to focus on that. But so my main comment in the video was like, if you want a big screen, get a Legion Go. If you want a big battery, get the Ally X, and both will be cheaper. But then somebody in the comments, a very astute comment, was like, well, what if I want both? And I'm like, okay, then I guess that is the MSI Claw at that point. You know what I mean? You want that bigger screen because it is noticeably bigger than something like the Steam Deck, And And then also if you want to have that longer battery life, then yeah, I mean, it's to the point where when I got done with all my testing, I would grab my LAX. I'd be like, oh, this thing is so small and cute. Like that's what the LAX feels like after holding the MSI Claw for a while. And so I definitely still am going to main my LAX. I already sent back the MSI Claw, but my big takeaway was that I don't plan on spending $900 to have this MSI Claw in my house. Like there's not enough of a need between all the stuff that I already own. So
so to piggyback on what you were saying, Russ, is a lot of people, for whatever reason, they call it like shill and whatever stuff, but I was like complimenting Asus on doing such a good job reducing the weight on the Ally X, still with having an 80 watt hour battery. People are like, oh, he's just a shill. And this is also still at the height of, the whole warranty thing, which I also talked about, but they just didn't want me to say anything nice at all. And I was just like talking about Asus engineering, not the business segment, right? Just like the engineers did a really good job here, guys. And when, you get the claw in, and it's like 110 grams heavier, and yes, it's larger, but like all of the weight is in the battery. Like 90% of the weight is the battery. So MSI, I don't blame MSI because 100% the Claw 8 AI Plus was in flight before an LAX was even known to them. So they were already in production and doing stuff with it. So it's not like, they knew how far Asus was going to go there. And I'm sure MSI can respond in kind. But when you compare the difference between the two in weight, like I'm one of the, like I always love big handhelds. Like I'll be like, okay, a big handle, no problem, I'll use it. But if you're gonna get like for like, you want that whole like min max, right? You want someone that's gonna go the extra mile, and Asus went the extra mile. Like you can feel the difference. So I don't know. That's also another reason why you would just do the LIX, because I know a lot of people are very conscious about how heavy these things are.
Yeah, I think that an 8-inch screen is very nice. Like the 8.8-inch screen on the Legion Go is fantastic, and I do think like an 8-inch screen would be a really good balance between the two, but I really don't want anything that much heavier than the Ally X, because I think the Ally X is a really good sweet spot. I would love it to be a little bit lighter, but it's pretty good. And I would love it to be a little bit more comfortable, but it's pretty good. It's like that. It's not just right, but it's really close to just right. And I feel like the MSI Claw 8, whatever, that I haven't had it in hand, but an extra 100 grams, I'm not sure if I like that idea.
Yeah, it is a big difference. But I will say also that going back to the Ally X, the screen felt small. And that's not really something that's really happened to me. But like when I was holding, I was like, oh man, this is a little bit harder to see. And it's a 16:9 display, so it's a little bit, it just feels more squished, compared to an 8-inch and 16:10. That's a big jump. And so that was another thing I wasn't expecting. And so I have to get that out of my brain so that way I can appreciate my LAX a little bit more. So I'm taking that on this flight to CES, this coming weekend. And so I'll have my LAX. I'm planning on playing Ghost of Tsushima. And so I'll probably get reacquainted with it at that point.
It's interesting to me that, as time has gone on, and I equate this always back to like how we always used to think like iPhone 4 was a normal size phone, and now everyone has like iPhone 15 Pro Max. Go back. Yeah, now those phones are small. And I would remember like whenever I was like having like 6-inch, 6.5-inch screen, people were like, oh, that's too big of a screen for a handheld. And I was like, actually, I wish it was 7 inches. And now I feel like universally 7 inches now the absolute minimum anyone is willing to go to on a handheld. It's like, no, it has to be 7-inch minimum. If it goes any lower, I don't even want to bother with that. And I feel like we're just going through the same thing again. And like, so yeah, I do appreciate larger screens. I appreciate larger handhelds in general, but like,
I know the exact thing that happened. Everyone that loved handhelds, loved them as a kid. And then we stopped liking handhelds. I didn't like handhelds for a period of time because I was like, those are for kids. That's for children. And then I became a dad and I loved handhelds all over again. So I think, we became dads and we wanted the bigger geriatric screen so that we can actually see what we're playing.
Yeah. I was like, I'm wearing glasses. I'm taking off glasses for the rest of the episode. I feel like I've been called out. Actually, I can't see
It
anything.
happened to all of us.
Time comes for us all.
That's right.
Well,
I had one more question about the claw.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to be curious about this, and I think I already know the answer, but like Bazite, right? Like that, it's nowhere near ready for the claw, I believe. Is that correct?
I'll let Cary answer that one.
So I was going to install it, but I had asked MSI because I was going to just like, install it on there. And so I just asked for permission right there because I know I had to send it back rapidly. So I asked like 3 or 4 days ago and heard nothing until like 2 days ago. So it was like 2 days of nothingness. And she was like, please don't do that. Wait until I send you another one and then you can do it. But I need that one back. And I was just like, all right. Okay. So then I just...
They weren't even going to send... When you guys went to the event in California, didn't they say that they weren't going to have review units out to you guys before launch?
They said before CES is what
before
they said.
CES, yeah. And launch was supposed to be this 26th of December. And then they pushed that back.
Oh,
so it all kind of worked out. But so same thing with me is that they actually gave me a longer lead time with it. I think they know it takes me forever to make a video. So they told me I didn't have to return it till like the 15th or something like that. But I wanted to turn around to give it back because there were not enough people to get review units. And so I was like, I'm going to send mine back so that someone else can make a video before the 15th, basically. And so I did not do any Bazite stuff. That's why I didn't do any like treating it as a computer. I didn't do eGPU stuff with it. I was like, all that stuff will just kind of have to wait. I want to really just get to the core of it, And so I did make some deliberate decisions in terms of what I did and didn't test with it. And that was one of those that I didn't.
Yeah. And I'll say from the little bit of looking at, Discord and stuff, I haven't seen much movement on the Bazite side for it either, at least not the last time I checked. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because their software suite, and Cary went into it too. It's funny because Cary went into it like, oh, look at all these cool things you can do. And I went into it like, I can't believe you have so many things you have to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the total opposite reaction where I'm like, I don't like the fact that I have 8 different ways to change the power profiles between the 5 from MSI and the 3 from Intel. Like, it's just too much. And so something like Bazite, streamlining it, really making it more efficient might be really interesting.
Yeah, that's always kind of a nightmare because you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I feel like I got the best setup right now for playing X game. And then somebody else is like, well, yeah, but if you change this over to this and this over to that, then you'll get 10 more frames per second or whatever, or it'll be more stable, or your 1% lows will be, higher, whatever it is. If there's too many places to go make changes, then it makes experimentation to figure out what you got to do really hard to figure out. It's like you just have too many variables to manipulate.
The one thing that I liked half and half. So the M Center one I just like trashed. The widgets one I actually really liked just because embedding into Microsoft Game Bar I think is a great idea. I also complimented them on there as well. And I think if Microsoft really wants to like invite handhelds into the Windows ecosystem, doing it through Game Bar is a really smart way because you already press the Xbox button on controllers to bring up the Game Bar. So if you could integrate into that, then you're basically making that like a super Xbox button for those, which is a great idea. And I like all that, but it's still not feature full. But like the MSI Center, like it's a bunch of wasted space and they squish the thumbnails of everything already when they're already supposed to. It's just like, and then I went into the powerful profile, right? And I'm like, I click on endurance here. I go to Intel. It does nothing. And it's labeled endurance. It's like, right. What are you guys doing? Like, this should just be 1-to-1. But yeah, so the Intel Endurance Gaming Mode works reasonably well. I was very, very happy that Intel basically has an auto TDP thing in their driver stack. And I love, and there's just, they call it efficiency balanced and performance, 30 FPS, 40 FPS, 60 FPS, and it will automatically dial power to reach that FPS cap. But it does it in a very conservative manner rather than an aggressive one. So it's not the absolute best power, but it is a exceedingly consistent FPS experience. So if you want to have like a super locked 60 FPS, like frame time, like on a needle, that is a great way to do it. You'll spend more than like tinkering with TDP and stuff, but you do get a power savings from it still. So I found that to be really good. I hope Intel invests in that further, but that's something that AMD should do as well. Like they have their freeze or their chill thing, but it's frankly not good enough.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about having more competitors in the market, is because if more competitors are doing things, then like AMD and NVIDIA and Intel and all of them can all like look at each other and say, hey, he just figured out something. Let's do that. Let's steal that and try it with our stuff. And that makes everybody's experience better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I'm actually looking forward to, a month from now, whatever, when people start getting this device in their hands and we start seeing Reddit posts where like, look at the battery life that I got by making these tweaks. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of opportunity there. I got 13 plus hours on Celeste after like setting all this stuff and tweaking it and whatnot. And I didn't do much. I didn't use the Intel one. I used the MSI one. I just set it to a 8-watt TDP max and manual settings. And it was just 2 clicks, and then just kind of let the system die down to the point where it just got what it needed. And it was around 3 to 4 watts, which was pretty great.
That's awesome. Well, make sure that you guys, I'll leave links down below if you're watching this on YouTube to both of their videos. So make sure that you all check out those videos and see what Intel is doing with the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. Let's move on. The next thing that I wanted to talk about today is our Steam replays. If we look at like our PlayStation replays or our Nintendo Switch replays, we're not like, I can't speak for these guys, but you're not going to see much. Like you'll see me playing a whole bunch of Astrobot and Final Fantasy and pretty much nothing else. But Steam replay, I played a little bit more on that. And so we've all got our Steam replays, and I thought that we could talk about those real quick and maybe see who is the realest gamer. Hint, it will not be me. I'm an old man with not that much time to actually play games. And having a hobby where I make videos about games means I get to play them even less. So how many games did everybody play in 2024 according to their Steam replay? Rich, how many did you play?
113. Yeah. I have a qualifier for that. I don't know if I think a lot of those are like Next Fest games, right? Because I don't remember playing 113 games. I think a lot of that is just Next Fest. But yeah, that's how many I played.
Cary, what about you?
Mine says 192.
192.
Goodness gracious.
It's lies, though. Lies.
It's not lies.
Lies and blasphemy.
That's not sessions. That's games, right? You're
Games
saying
played.
lies.
You're
saying
152 new games, 3 demos, 192 games played.
Yeah, that's just a lot of games.
Yeah. Russ, what about you?
I'm at 116, which is 2 fewer than last year. I did 118 last year, but I share my account with my son. And so the number of games played is probably actually really indicative of me. He only plays like 3 or 4 games, but he plays a lot of hours. And so, yeah, I'm probably close to about 110 that I actually played. And 47 of those, according to this, are new games.
All right. I am the biggest loser with 94 games, which honestly, when I opened it up, I expected it to be like 10. I expected it to be way lower than 94 games. 44 of those were new games. That's four games fewer than last year, and it was 17 demos. Rich, how many demos? Because you said you thought it might have been Next Fest. It should say right in the same card.
So I took an image a long time ago, and I'm not looking at like the live. My card doesn't show demos. It says 180 achievements, 1,051 sessions, and 77 new games. So I might have to pull it up for the actual.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the achievements then. You said how many achievements?
180. So very few.
Okay. Very few, he says. I'm fewer than that. I only have 110 achievements, which is 13 more achievements than last year, which is weird because I played 4 fewer games this year than I did last year, and I got more achievements. I guess I got further in the games that I did play. I have 12 rare achievements. Russ, what about your... Whoa, that scared me.
Sorry.
Russ, what about... I guess, no, Cary, since you sneezed, you go. How many achievements you got? I'm going to guess this is pretty high.
All right. I want you guys to guess real quick. Give me a number. What do you think?
Oh, okay.
300.
Well, how about Russ? You guess, and then Rich and I'll do over under.
300, my guess.
I'm going over.
I'm gonna go under. I don't think it's 300.
He easily doubled mine.
It's 58.
What?
I'm mostly been benchmarking this entire year. I've been just like benchmark crazy this year.
I think the games that you finished too are on Game Pass a lot of the time.
Yeah.
it's not gonna
Oh,
show
that's
up here.
true.
I'm thinking
most of
about
my
the Game
achievements-
Pass games. That's exactly what happened.
The only one that's not would be Indiana Jones has been on Steam, nothing but. I started playing that on Steam. I mean, I'm still surprised at 58 because I mostly did like for PC. I was just benchmarking like a madman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How many
did I
of
have
those
the
are
most-
rare?
I have 0 rare achievements. It says the achievements 58 achievements on 10 games.
All right, take his gamer card. Russ, what about you?
So 401.
There we
Oh
go.
my God.
But
There we go.
They're
gamer.
mostly my son. Like let's be
That's
true
all
here. Like,
you,
so
Russ. Don't be
If you
so
look at-
humble.
there's another stat that says how much time you spent playing keyboard and mouse versus with a controller, and 44% of the time with my account is keyboard and mouse, which I never do. So 44% of the time it's him playing, right? And he only plays like 4 or 5 games, and he's completed Celeste, like all the rare stuff. Cyberpunk he completed, Hollow Knight he completed all the rare stuff, and then Forager. And so a lot of these are all from him, basically. 25 of those achievements are rare. So yeah, it's definitely him playing that. My achievements are things like 3D Mark. You know, it's like, hey, you did this benchmark, like the worst benchmark you've ever done. Here's an achievement. Like those are the ones that I've been getting. So
Nice.
All right, so you brought up the percentage. I have 87% with controller, 13% played with keyboard and mouse. That stat is completely wrong. There's no way that I spent that much time with a keyboard and mouse. I hate keyboard and mouse. Like, I don't understand how, unless I'm playing games that are only for keyboard and mouse and I'm using Steam input to fake it.
right, that's
Like,
what
that's
I'm
the
thinking.
only way I can think
That's a
of
good point because I do have a good amount of like gyro playtime, and I ended up with 85-15, so 15% keyboard and mouse. I was going to say almost all my keyboard and mouse time was just Marvel Rivals on the desktop, even though it came out late, like just a little bit before the Steam replay. There was a lot of time that I spent on Marvel Rivals, so I think that made up for a good amount of my keyboard and mouse time.
What's your ratio to that, Cary?
I don't see it on mine. I see 6 cards. I have longest streak, and then it just has Returnal, Batman Arkham Knight, and Cyberpunk as my most
you
played
didn't-
games.
Because you didn't use any inputs whatsoever.
Yeah, I didn't.
Automated benchmarking is not a stat that they can show.
We have no idea what this guy's doing. He just looks at him. He's got just a kiosk going.
All right, so you listed your 3 games. What were they again?
There's the Returnal, Batman Arkham Knight, Cyberpunk 2077. Those are the ones with the
And those are
longest-
definitely benchmarking games.
those
for
are
you.
all the ones that I benchmark all the time. They're Yeah.
So Cyberpunk 2077 for me is also on there, but that's a benchmarking game. Like, I'm always firing that up to see how it's going to run on something because it has a built-in benchmark. But the other 2 games for me were Animal Well. 15% of my playtime was in Animal Well. I love that friggin' game. And then Doom 1 and Doom 2
nice.
was 9% of my playtime.
That was a great release.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
Doom
so
2.
good.
Have you seen
What
that?
about you?
That
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
there's a very quick digression. The boomer shooter, but you're like in a mech. Did you see that one?
Not
I
ringing a
haven't.
bell right now.
We could take
Yeah.
we'll table
Once
that
you
right now.
find that, I need that. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody in the comments rescue us if Cary can't think of what it is.
Yeah.
Rich, what were your 3 games that they showed you?
What were my?
Or you
3
can't
games?
see it because you're not on the
I
thing,
went
right?
back. So
Oh, okay.
Balatro.
Yeah.
Now guess my percent of playtime.
Percent of playtime. I'm going to say
40.
Okay, I'm going to say higher than 40. I'm going to go over. Well, Cary,
Yes.
are you over or under 40% for Rich playing Balatro?
Under.
Under. Okay.
You guys went high because like 40% is high.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it's all you talk about, man.
35% of my playtime this year was on Balatro. That's insane.
Cary wins, and so does that Canadian guy who made the game.
Local Thunk.
Right.
Local Thunk,
Yeah.
he wins too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, rounding out my top three, again, surprisingly, Marvel Rivals, 7% of my playtime. Again, this came out like a week or two before the replay. So like I spent a lot of time on Marvel Rivals just in that week or two.
Are you still playing it?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Black Myth Wukong, also 7%.
Nice.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Russ?
So mine are, I forgot that he had the other two, so sorry for interrupting. But my three are all my son. So Forager, Cyberpunk, and Hollow Knight. Cyberpunk is also me for benchmarking, so that's probably why it's in second place. Because he only really played that for like 4 days straight and then beat it and it was done, But for me, Balatro is the next one in the list, and that's 5% of my game play time, which shows how much my son plays because, I play Balatro a lot, and it only made 5% of my entire game time. So that shows a lot for this account.
Yeah.
I really need to set up a family thing. That's what I'm learning from all this. So I don't have to do this all the
absolutely
time.
set up a family thing. It's great. Every once in a while, my son will buy a game, and then I will just suddenly have a new game in my library, and I'm like, yay! Because we're in the Steam family thing, which honestly, that might be the best thing that Valve did last year was fixing the Steam families thing. It's so friggin' good now.
For a lot of people, that was a big downgrade.
For people
if they're not in the same
region,
country or region,
so lots of people got kind of screwed. Even though the feature set was like before, if anyone played anything in your library, your entire library was locked out.
Right
now, it's just if they play that game, you can't play that game. So it's a very physical minded thing. Like if someone borrowed your game, you can't play it, but you can still play all the other games you have. Yeah, exactly. So I love it. So since then, like it's been the best thing ever. Yeah, just share your Steam library, have a family library, and off to the races.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you really want, you could make friends with Cary because he's got like 10,000 games.
I got a few.
I have a feeling his family's pretty packed with 10,000 games.
Yeah.
Come on, everyone. What was his name? Jace C. So this is the long ago. This is like Steam early days, like 2010, 2011, NeoGAF days. And JC was the one that had like a huge library. He had like 5,000 games back in like 2011 or 2012 or something. So that was like crazy. And they had a
that was like every game.
Yeah, and it was like a crazy number. Anyway, he was giving away a family spot in his library, and his tag on NeoGAF was "gave away the keys to the kingdom," which I thought was a cute little name. But the NeoGAF is in the old days now.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Then they say how you compare, and it's comparing against like the average. So my 110 achievements, the Steam median is only 13.
Yeah, that's what I have.
That's crazy to me that only like the average is. I'm above average. I figured for sure I would be below. Mom, I'm above average. It's never happened before.
Congratulations.
The Steam median for how many games people played was 4. And then the Steam median for the longest streak was 6. I find that crazy to me. I guess a lot of people have Steam, but they just don't use it.
Yeah, a lot of casual users probably.
I mean, if I wasn't benchmarking all the time, I'd probably be down. Well, if I wasn't benchmarking all the time, I'd probably have time to play games. So I don't know.
Right.
That's all. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. All right. So then we had, if we keep scrolling down, we have new, recent, and classic games. And I am 46% new releases, 18% classic games, and 36% recent favorites. So that's games that were released within the past 1 to 7 years. But 46% of the games that I played were released last year.
12% for me.
I
don't like spending money on 12% new releases. I don't like spending full price on games. And so 78% of mine is recent favorites. So 1 to 7 years old, basically.
What about you, Rich?
82% new releases. I do buy a lot of new games, but they're usually like, indies, right? So like as soon as
they're not
Russ said,
expensive.
Kato, was that the name of that game?
Yeah.
Like I bought
That's
that
the butter
immediately.
one,
That was a
yeah.
good game. And it, it was like $15, $10. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
So
I was happy
going
to
now
buy
that
it.
you're on the live page, how many demos did you play up at the top? Where it
Oh
shows
yeah.
you play?
So it was all demos. It was 73 demos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder if that is included in your new recent and classic, if the demos are included in that
Yeah, I would
metric as
imagine
well.
it have to be. Yeah. Yeah. I also spent a lot of time like playing games offline. I imagine that a lot of that is tabulated, but these days I almost spend all my time like either invisible or offline.
Yeah. Well, if you scroll down to the bottom, near the bottom, it shows like your Steam Deck time. And in that, there's an asterisk that says offline is not counted. I don't know if that's for everything,
okay.
but at least for Steam Deck, offline is not counted. And so
to
the
know.
numbers are a little skewed with mine with that one because I know I gave one of my Steam Decks to my son to play when we were in Japan, and he like blazed through Hollow Knight during that entire time. But it's only showing 8% of my time with Hollow Knight when I know he spent a lot of time on the tour buses and stuff playing that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So then next we have our spider graph. It says you are what you play. And this is Cary's favorite type of graph, by the way. The spider graph shows what kinds you play. So we've got 6 categories, and I'm assuming they're going to be different for everybody. So my 6 categories are pinball, shoot 'em up, Metroidvania, 2D fighter, cyberpunk, and Warhammer 40K. I don't know how those are genres. Like, I understand how cyberpunk is a genre, but Warhammer 40K, that's
They're
a
not.
genre?
They're tags. They're tags. Does it say genre anywhere? I don't see it
okay. I guess
on mine.
it just says what
It says
kinds of games.
Yeah. So these are just
Okay.
tags that show up on Steam.
So pinball, that's clearly going to be
Pinball
what was
Spire,
that?
which is also
Pinball
good.
Spire, which is also a Metroidvania. But
Yep.
I am way over on the 2, like way over on Metroidvania and way over on Cyberpunk. Is where most of my heat map is on this spider graph. Rich, what are your 6 categories?
No surprise for the top one, roguelike deck builder. So that's number one. Mythology, which I'm not sure which of I guess Black Myth, right? Black Myth got
that makes
mythology.
sense.
Souls-like, so Black Myth, but also any other. I definitely play some
Elden
other
Ring?
Souls-likes. Yes, Elden Ring. Precision platformer, not surprising there that's one of my top, and so is 2D platformer. So I have 2D platformer and precision platformer on my spider graph. And then the last one is cyberpunk. So yeah, pretty cool.
Russ, what are your 6 categories, and why do you think they
mine
are
are
there?
skewed again? Yeah. So my main one is open world survival craft, which is not me. That's my son playing Forager. The next is Metroidvania. Makes sense, because I played a lot of Celeste. He played a lot of Celeste. Hollow Knight. Cyberpunk is the next one. And again, it's weird that that's a genre. And then below that, I have roguelike deck builder, which is Balatro. Precision platformer, which is probably Celeste as well. And then on rails shooter is my other one. I'm not really sure what they're talking about with that one. I played like a lot of BioShock and stuff, but I don't
Whisker
know about
Squadron?
on rails. Oh yeah, I did
Yeah,
play a lot
that's
of
it.
that one, and that is that's an on rails kind of Star Fox
Yeah.
game. So yeah,
What about you, Cary? What's your categories?
I'm going to go top to bottom. So number 1 is Cyberpunk, and that's just the benchmark du jour. Number 2 is roguelike deck builder. Number 3 is rhythm.
Oh,
Number 4 is combat racing.
hold on. What's the rhythm game that you're playing?
I have no
I'm gonna
idea.
guess it's Batman. It's Batman Arkham. That's a rhythm game. Like hit the buttons
That's
at the
gotta
right
be
time.
it. Yeah.
Metal Hellsinger?
No, I don't know. I honestly, I probably put no. Like I'm trying to think of like Beat Saber and stuff, which I do play from time to time, but I don't even know why it would appear in here.
Weird.
I have combat
Hi-Fi Rush?
racing.
What's combat racing?
Combat
Mario
racing, so like
Kart's the only one I
Twisted
can
Metal,
think of.
but like I don't know what the hell I'm playing. Now
That was
this
the
one,
first game that came to my mind.
this one
Twisted
does
Metal.
make sense because I literally bought a bundle of these and I was going through them, and I have a soft spot for them, and that is FMV games, full motion video games. So that
Like Sewer Shark.
yeah, or like Night Trap, or like like those types of games. So I bought a bundle of them, and they're I kind of I actually prefer, and it's probably a stupid thing to say, but I almost like that if it was like VCD quality. I don't know if you guys remember what VCD quality is, like 320 by 240, 15 FPS. Like, it's like, I want it to be like that. And then my last one, which the only thing I can think of is when I play with my buddies every time and again, but I play it on Game Pass more than I do on Steam. So I don't know what the hell this is, but it says Pirates.
Pirates.
Yeah, so I play Sea of
Pirates
Thieves.
genre.
I do play Sea of Thieves, and the only thing that I played probably early this year was Secret of Monkey Island. So
That's Pirates.
it is, but
Cary, have you played, going back to FMV, have you played Her Story?
yes, I
was
have.
good. That
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
good game.
There's a few different ones that I've played, but yeah, I really like the FMV genre. It's kind of like, I don't know. I kind of have a soft spot for it in a few different ways, and there's like things that I look for in FMV games, and if it's kind of going off in a weird way, I'll kind of drop it. But yeah, there's a few that I like, but yeah, it's a neat genre.
My son bought me a Lego. Hold on a second. Let me grab it.
Oh, Piranha Plant. I actually
The
have
Lego
that here,
Piranha Plant. Sorry for the dead air, everybody. And yesterday I was building this. He got me this for Christmas, and so I was sitting here building it, and I was watching YouTube videos, and I saw this video yesterday of this RCA something vision. I can't remember what it's called, but it was essentially they put movies on vinyl.
Oh, right.
And I watched this video about like how it works. This guy had bought one off eBay and got it working and tried it out, and it was a really interesting video. But one of the things that he tried was they have like murder mysteries, and you would sit there and watch a video and then try and solve the clues, and you'd had to punch in codes into the thing in order to tell it where to go on the vinyl. And it was like that seems like the precursor to those games. I mean, we all know that Night Trap started out as a VHS game.
Right. Yeah, so then there's like the original is Dragon's Lair, right? So like it was a Laserdisc game. So the Daphne system. Yeah, and that whole thing sparked a neat revolution. Yeah, Dragon's Lair was huge. I remember failing at it terribly as a young kid.
Yeah. It was four quarters too.
It's expensive as hell, and it was like, what a brutal game that was, playing in an arcade when you're like 6. You're just like, all right, you see blink blink, and then you're like, what? And then, oh, I died.
Yeah.
What the hell just happened? Another
Well,
dollar.
when
was
you
our Elden Ring.
saw it, you were just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
That was the one game that I was like, I'm gonna watch someone else waste $1 and play.
That was our first Souls-like, basically.
But yeah, that was a brutal game, because it didn't even like, I don't even like the learning experience is like another $1. Oh,
That's too funny. All right, let's scroll down a little bit more to our playtime by month. For me, it was May. I put a bunch of time into May. January and December, I hardly played anything. Rich, what's your biggest month?
April. I think Blatro came out that month, but it was
Yeah.
April.
That's my top play game that month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cary?
yeah. It says July, but when I go and hover over all of them, it's literally Returnal for every one of them. So it's just me benchmarking various times. So
It's
I think
just
July.
what was the busiest time of the year.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, so
July
it's
just
product
like I had a
releases.
bunch of devices. That's this graph is just like whatever. But May and June, I was crunching at work, so that's when I had like literally nothing going on. But still, June I have 1% of Returnal going.
And then, Russ, what was your biggest month?
Yeah. Mine's all over the place. Again, a lot of it is my son. It's pretty steady, actually, until like June drops a bunch, and that's because I went on travel. And so it's just not showing up there because I went to like England, and then we went over to the Too Many Games, like was that June, July timeframe, So it's like I was traveling a bunch during that time. We went to go see the LAX in New York City. So it was like just a busy month. But otherwise, everything is just really stable. Across the board, everything's just kind of the same.
And then the last thing that I want to check out on here is what devices that we played on. So for me, 51% of my playtime was on Steam Deck. 46% was on Windows, and then I don't know how. Oh, Mac OS was 2%, and that was me playing Scald because it's also a Mac game. Cary, where was your most of your time played?
99% of my time was on Windows.
99.
Yeah, so like I would say that I had 29 games played on Steam Deck, and that's probably a better representation of like actual playtime and like sinking actual hours into games. I had 184 games played on Windows. Windows is basically going to be where like most of my benchmarking is done. So, yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. So, 1% is Steam Deck. So this last year, at least as has come to like Steam games playing, very little. Mostly playing, even on Windows when I would play games, I was playing on Game Pass.
Game Pass.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Rich, actually, I'm going to have Rich wait because I want to do an over under on him. Russ, what devices were you playing on most?
Yeah, so no Mac OS is even showing up on mine, but playtime is skewed again because of my son, because he's just playing on his Windows PC. So 84% Windows, 16% Steam Deck. But if you look at number of games played, this is probably more indicative. So 102 games on Windows and 60 on Steam Deck. And that Steam Deck number probably also counts Bazite with the ROG Ally.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And so that's pretty reflective, given the fact that, 102 games on Windows, many of those are probably benchmarks. And then random testing that I do. But the 60 games on Steam Deck is probably me just playing games.
Cary, can you guess a percentage for Rich for Steam Deck?
I'm going to say it's going... So Marvel Rivals is going to skew this up a little bit. So I'm going to say 70%, 65% Steam Deck.
Okay, I'm going to say higher than that. Russ, what do you think?
Under, I think it's 50-50.
Rich?
73% on the Steam Deck. And yeah, I do think Rivals skewed it a bit. So 73%. I did also play a bunch of the demos on desktop too, because I would like write about the demo as I was like playing it. So I played those on desktop. But other than that, I was mostly playing on either Steam Deck or ROG Ally X with Bazite.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our I forgot what it's called. Steam because I closed it. Steam Replay. That's our Steam Replay. Feel free to let us know how you guys measured up in the comments down below. Let's move on. And we've been talking a bunch about Balatro and that game, and that it takes us all the way back to episode 1 of the Nerd Nest podcast, which was quite a while ago. We're on episode 84, I believe, at this point. But in episode 1, Rich told us about a game called Luck Be a Landlord, which is basically the inspiration for Balatro. And that game just got banned from Google, or might get banned from Google Play, for the same reason that Balatro is now rated M for mature because of gambling. Rich, Luck Be a Landlord, a gambling game?
No, not even close. Again, it's the same, like you said, it's the same thing as Balatro, where it has gambling themes, right? Like slot machines. That's essentially it, right? But you don't place bets. You just watch big number get big, right? Like that's really it. You think of it like an arcade game, right? Like where the points just go up. Your goal is to just make the points go up. But I think there's the fact that there's the themes, and one thing may be the fact that we keep calling these games addictive, which they are, but they're not addictive in the same way that gambling is addictive. But I wonder if that is a factor in kind of the way these are being rated. Certainly it's just people that are in control of these bodies that either don't know what they're talking about or are willfully being ignorant, because it's not just that these games are being rated in a way that is not indicative, but it's also that actual gambling games, or like poker games and then games with loot boxes, are rated in such a way that does not reflect those things, right? Like they're not rated as M or Peggy 18 or banned from Google Play Store. They're just allowed to be there.
Like FIFA or whatever they call it. And it's not called FIFA anymore. It's called something else.
Football Club? FC?
Yeah, FC, yeah. FC. Yeah. So EA's FC. That's filled with, or NBA 2K, filled with actual gambling because you pay money and you might get a card or a character or a player that you actually want, and you might not. That's gambling.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
I think
spend any
there
money on
are
these
actual
games.
like poker games that are like not being rated as like Peggy 18, but are poker games, right? Like not just a poker theme, but they're poker games. I don't know if you're actually betting money, but you're at least going through the motions, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that it's not just limited to Balatro, but also
That's
to Luck Be a
hilarious.
Landlord because it has a slot machine in
That's
it.
a-
And
Just don't let them see like Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, did they just roll dice?
You're right.
Gambling?
That's it. Yeah.
or
That's
Super Mario
literally it.
Brothers 2.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you get to the end of the level and there's a slot machine and you can win lives. I
Yeah.
guess you better take that out of their ESRB or whatever the European one was.
Yeah. I think it also undermines like how clever the use of the poker theme is in Balatro and the use of the slot machine theme is in Luck Be a Landlord, where like it really conveys a lot of information to the player without like having to communicate anything, right? Like the player just intuitively understands that like there's this randomness involved, that like if I can place more of these elements into the slot machine, there's a higher likelihood of them happening. And if I can remove items from the things that show up in the slot machine, then that increases the odds of the thing I want showing up. And so like, I don't know, it's a really clever thing that they did with those themes. And this just kind of like, I don't know, undermines that to a degree.
So shortly before we sat down to start recording, Cary posted in our private Discord, he said, "I'm not banned." And I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I didn't even read it. I was just like, okay, this will give us something to talk about in the show. What the hell are you talking about? Why are you not banned? What are you banned from? Did you play poker or something?
No, this is Microsoft rewards thing. Apparently, there's Microsoft appears to have falsely banned loads of Microsoft rewards people that are using Microsoft rewards. And I read into it, and a lot of people are showing that this is the case. And I'm sure Microsoft is trying their darndest to prevent people from gaming the system. Because the thing is that Microsoft does a bunch here that you could actually redeem gift cards. So gift cards to Starbucks, gift cards to Amazon, and if you rack up points, you can then get actual money that's usable for you. So a bunch of people, there's an update. A fix is now rolling out, and affected accounts should be back online in the next several hours. So there was some wave that went out, and it affected a bunch of people that shouldn't have been affected. But I do know of people that were banned for like they would search 1, and then they search 1, 2, and then they search 1, 2, 3, and then they search 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just keep on just like hitting another button and keep on searching and searching and searching. And I know those people have gotten banned. And there's people that have written applications and they didn't ban them, but they could see the application. They knew it was that they were using a tool. So they weren't even they were just letting the search happen, didn't ban the person, but didn't give the points. So they would just like let it happen, but not give you any points, but not ban you either. So it's like, we see what you're doing. So there's been that whole thing. And I guess there was a ban wave that they were pushing out to see, because that's what what they normally do is they wait for like this certain wave of knowing who these people are using certain tools and then sending out a ban wave. And it looks like a few people got caught in the net that shouldn't have oughta got caught.
So this Microsoft Rewards program, it's gotten kind of like it's becoming less good recently, right? At least that's the vibe that I'm getting in my Discord. Is people are always talking about, oh, I used to be able to get this many points and then I could use it to redeem for this, and now I can't do as much. And I never bothered because I was like, it's too much work. I'd rather just
do whatever,
So
they have remove some programs. They used to have a lot of bonus features. So if you did, these two things together, you would get a bunch of bonus points. So there was a lot of incentives to doing certain types of actions that would give you a bunch more points. Some people are just like in it to win it. So there's like 3 different challenges every day. And if you keep getting that, there's like a score that goes up, and it's just basically your streak. So people want to keep their streak going. So people that got banned by this, like, oh no, my streak, it's going to go away.
It's like when my students, they talk about how many times they've used a Snapchat back and forth with one of their friends, and they get like a streak for that or something, and they'll be talking about, oh, don't forget, we gotta send that today, otherwise we'll lose our streak. And I'm like, it's like, you just talk to each other.
it's the gamification of a lot of different things becomes really sticky for a lot of different reasons, and sometimes people really it becomes their own personal leaderboard, and it's their own high scoreboard that they themselves care about, and it's sometimes personal, and I get it.
They lost their streak.
They lost their streak.
No.
Yeah, your save game gets deleted if you don't play every day.
Yeah, or maybe every day you don't play, it goes back an hour or something. You know what I mean? Like it's
I like that.
I gotta replay this part.
Yes,
It's a brutal
that's
game.
amazing.
No one will play it. They're like, screw this game. I'm
No.
throwing away my time.
No, people will play the shit out of that game,
You're gonna have a few,
whether they like it or not.
whether they like it or not. The owl comes knocking.
But yeah,
That's
the live service games are the worst in that regard, right? Like you have to complete these missions within a certain time frame, and then you lose tokens if you don't use the tokens, and then you have to log in and get these new missions, and it's a pain.
Was it
in the ass.
you, Rich, that was complaining about how Marvel Rivals like constantly has notifications in 6 different places on your screen? It's like, you got to go over here and claim this stupid reward, and then go over here and claim. And I don't even care about the currency. I'm just sit down and shoot dudes.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I didn't complain about it because I'm the same as you. Like I don't look at that stuff. I just immediately like go to quick play and just jump into a match.
But I hate notification things. Like, so when I
The
see them, I
badges.
have to get the little notification badge. I have to go and get rid of them because I find them annoying. Like, that doesn't bother my wife. I look at her phone. She'll have like 800,000 unread emails and 7,800 freaking voicemails. And I'm like, how do you deal with this? She doesn't care.
Yeah.
But for me, it drives me up the wall. So when I play Marvel Rivals and I have to, I got to go turn off this one and turn off that one, even though I don't care about them. I don't like the marks on there.
Have you guys? I hate installing Capcom games because I'll have like all the DLC for them, and then I'll install like one that I have installed for a while, and it's just like shoom DLC, shoom DLC, shoom DLC, and I'm like, yes, okay, it just keeps going, and then it's just like, go to the championship thing if you want to play the championship mode. Okay, go to online mode. I'm like, goodness gracious, you don't have
I just want to play the game.
Yeah, like, God, please just stop. Like, why are you
Street Fighter
explaining
6.
everything? Yeah, it's
Street Fighter 6 is terrible at that. So is Monster Hunter.
yeah, just God, goodness gracious. It's that Netflix thing. They want to start making TV shows where the characters say out loud what they're doing because people are like have it in the background. So they're just going to be like, I'm talking on the phone to what's his face. Hey, what's his face? And it's just like, could you imagine? Like, no one.
That sounds terrible.
It sounds awful, but that's the thing that they said, and that's what Capcom is doing. They're like, like, if you want to play campaign mode, press campaign mode. I'm like, yeah, that's apparent. Like, goodness gracious.
For the audio listeners, right now I'm taking a drink of water.
What was it? Iron Man 3 did that. Iron Man 3 was a terrible movie, and I would like to point
No, it was not.
There's a point in there where they cut from some other scene to another scene, and Tony Stark is on the phone. They cut to him, and he goes, who am I talking to? Oh, that's right, I'm talking to this guy. And he goes back on his phone, and I was like, oh my goodness. Did you really have to, like, cram whatever exposition that was down into half a second? Like, what are you guys doing here? Take some time. Take a breath. This did not have to be.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I like Shane Black. He's the director. He did the Good Guys, the Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling like crime
Also
movie.
good.
I love that movie too.
Which one is this?
He also did Predator.
Good Guys, the Good Guys.
He wrote
Where
Predator.
Yeah, he did the new Predator one. The
original.
Predator. No, I don't think he did original. He's not that old, is he?
Yeah, I think he was in it too.
I don't know anything about this.
Oh,
no,
well,
he did
people
the
are Googling. I
2018
can
no,
hear
he did.
keyboards.
Yeah.
He did both.
Wow.
He was in. I think he was just in the 1987 one. Yeah,
Oh,
John
Nice
McTiernan
Guys.
did that one. Yeah, Nice Guys. That's what it is. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I have not seen this yet.
Yeah, so
Oh,
he
it's
was
real
in the
good.
original Predator, but then he made the new one, The Predator, in like 2018 or whatever.
So I don't know how it happened, and this is completely outside of gaming, but I was looking for things to watch while I was building this Lego, which took forever, right? And so I put on the making of the Predator because I have it on Apple TV. I had bought it on Apple TV, and it has the making of. And so they wanted Shane Black to do rewrites. He said no. So they got him to be an actor in the movie, and then they said, "We'll make him write once he's here." So they made him do rewrites once he was there in the movie.
Yeah, he wrote Lethal Weapon. So like
Yep.
he definitely was like in a heyday in the 80s. I'm looking through it now. And yeah, he did Last Boy Scout, helped write that one too.
One of the jokes in The Last Boy Scout is one that I still find hilarious. Is he has the gun in the puppet, and he's like, why did the rooster cross the road? I can say that is, we don't want this whole thing to, because the rooster was attached to the chicken. Why did the rooster
Got
cross the
it.
road?
Yep.
Yeah. And then he shoots the guy. He's like, why did the rooster cross the road? Kablam, kablam, kablam. It's such an amazing scene. I love that scene.
Yeah, if the viewers have not seen Nice Guys, it's a 2016 movie. It's highly recommended. It is such a funny movie. Ryan Gosling does some really. There's a part where he breaks the window. Do you guys remember that? He punches the window and then cuts himself, and then it's like losing blood and stuff. And it's so unexpected. Man, there's so many great.
It's a very
things
good
about
movie.
that. Yeah,
I think my wife and I watched that last year actually, and it's actually a few years old, but it's really good. But I love Shane Black's stuff. He's a really good writer, and most of his stuff is Christmas movies. He loves writing Christmas movies, which is why Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie, and so is Lethal Weapon, and so is Die Hard.
It's the first I've heard of Iron Man 3 being a Christmas movie, but I'm here for it.
All right, moving on to some Switch news. We've got two things. The Switch 2 motherboard pictures have been put up on Reddit. Nintendo, good God, talk about this thing so that we can stop with all the leaks, mine included. Although I keep seeing pictures of my desk in places. I'll be scrolling through
so
like, that's my desk. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then we also have Nintendo patented. So watch out, anybody who's doing upscaling, because Nintendo has now patented upscaling. Basically DLSS style AI upscaling with that NVIDIA chip, in order to allow them to output game it's funny the way that Nintendo is putting this, because they say that the reason that they want to do it is to keep the file size smaller, because then you can run at lower resolutions and then upscale. So you don't need
It's literally
60
just
gigs.
it's literally just DLSS.
I know.
They're just.
But why is Nintendo able to
I think
get a patent on that?
I think PSSR is patented too, or at least they filed for a patent. I don't know. It's dumb, but isn't that the?
I mean, it's upscaling. It's just DLSS. I could understand. Unless what they're saying is so DLSS 4 is coming out, right? And people are speculating. I don't know if you guys are aware of the whole VRAM thing that's going on with NVIDIA cards, and how people that have 4070s and stuff are in a bad time right now. And then the new cards only have 8 gigs of VRAM, which is now too little. You look at games like Indiana Jones that suffer greatly by not having enough VRAM. There's games now that are taxing that, right? So the joke is that DLSS 4 that's coming out, DLSS 3 was frame generation, so you can double your frames, right? Mm-hmm. And DLSS 4 is you don't have to worry about VRAM size anymore, because it'll hallucinate better textures. Just have a super small texture, and it'll just upscale the texture for you.
But there's a gotcha there, because that's limited to the 50 series cards.
Right,
Is
yeah.
DLSS 4.
Right. So potentially, right? Like almost for sure, it's definitely for the flagship. Maybe for the 4090, but maybe not. Maybe for the 4080, but maybe not. But for sure, it's for the 50 series, right? But that's the inside joke that I even tweeted about it today. I was like, we all know DLSS 4 is just to make that 8 gigs of VRAM enough for all the new games you need. So that's kind of like what Nintendo is saying here. And I mean, as far as we know, and there's so much speculation. Like I tweeted out, I was like, please, I'm begging everyone, please stop with this like PS4 Pro thing. And they're like, oh, it's gonna be PS4 Pro in like handheld state, and it goes back and forth, right? Where it's like, no, it's not. And then they're like, well, even if it's PS4 Pro when it's docked, that's still awesome. And like they're trying to say, it's like, guys, you're in any event, no matter which way you do this, I've been bombarded by a bunch of people telling me a whole bunch of stuff like, oh no, from the specs, this and that, and it's this, and plus it's got backported stuff from Nvidia stuff. So even though it's the old stuff, it has some of the new stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you guys talking about? So I don't know. I really can't wait for this just to come out so that all of the speculation is done. And we just have like a firm understanding of what's going to be. It's still going to be awesome. The Switch 2 is going to be great. I think we can just all agree on that. It's going to be great. But there's no reason to like go overboard. I think it's going to be good. Don't quote me on that though, but I think it's going to be
good. Nice. Yeah, I mean, like,
go ahead.
I think we've been bombarded with the different leaks, and it's getting out of hand. But particularly the way people are what they're taking away from it, right? Like, I think if you just look at like the leaks from, who is it, Next Handheld, who actually showed off like the actual console with the magnetic stuff and stuff like that, like that should be enough for us to be entertained for the next few months. But I think people are going overboard with some of the PS4 Pro stuff for sure.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are irritated that it's like they looked at the motherboard and they were like, that looks like, and it's, I guess the chip is an NVIDIA chip, but it's manufactured by Samsung, and that means it's an 8 nanometer chip,
right.
And people are upset that it's not a 3 nanometer chip or a 5 nanometer chip.
Yeah. So Samsung 8 nanometer is horrendous. So if it's 8 nanometer, that's like that is basically lighting a fire on all of their hopes and dreams. That's literally like taking all of their wishes and flushing it down the drain. So then you have people like, no. That is the same size as those memory chips. That means that if we do this and we can go look at that, it's more likely 5 nanometer. And I'm like, all right. I mean, whatever. It's going to be good regardless. It's going to be in a handheld state. It'll get 2 to 3 hours of battery life, and it'll look great. Nintendo games are going to look great on it. The
Nintendo games will look fantastic.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm absolutely positive about. Like, look at Luigi's Mansion on the Switch 1. That thing looks outrageously good, and that thing runs at 3 watts total system power on like the Switch OLED. That's insane. 3 watts total, not TDP. That's total power. So it's like, with Nintendo behind the wheel of the Switch 2, they're gonna, especially with DLSS, right? Like, they already got the patent for it, guys. They're gonna do some good work. They're gonna make those games 20 megabytes large and 4K ready.
Yeah, and the people who are looking at those chips and being like, it's 8 nanometers, it's not whatever. Guess what? The only games that those people are going to be playing on the Switch are Nintendo games. Like, those are the hardcore tech people. And they're going to be playing all of the other games that won't run well on the Switch somewhere else. At least that's my opinion.
The interesting thing will be that if the Switch 2 is good enough that a lot of PC ports start coming for it, you know what I mean? Or just console ports and stuff. And if there's enough to actually move the needle where people are like, I actually don't want a Steam Deck.
Right. I
want, like an ARM-based handheld, and the Switch might actually just do everything because it plays the Nintendo games, and then I can play all of these console ports as well. And so that'll be really interesting, as whether or not that moves the needle. I mean, before I was into all this kind of stuff, I had a Switch, and I got like Witcher 3, and I got Demon Souls. Like, I got them on the Switch, and I was like, this is cool. I can play them on a handheld. You know what I mean? So I wonder if for normies or just, like casual users, that's going to be good enough.
The thing that I always heard, even out loud, was that people would buy Nintendo games for Switch, and then they'd buy their multi-platform games on PlayStation. and that I think was like for a lot of people that what they would do. But yeah, with the Switch 2, and I was on the Xbox era podcast for a hot 2-3 weeks ago. We had this conversation. This is more like Microsoft needs to come off their handheld, because if you know the Phil Spencer thing, we've talked about this. They lost the last generation because PS4, that's when everyone started getting their ecosystem. And I said, if Microsoft delays too long again and Switch 2 has momentum to build up, they're once again going to lose the handheld ecosystem if Switch just comes along and people just start buying their multi-platform games on the Switch 2. And it's like, it's like these guys.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you see the people who are like, yeah, but the Switch, excuse me, the Switch runs like crap. You know, it doesn't have very good frame rates or whatever. Most people don't care. Most people don't notice. Most people just sit down and play a game and they're like, hey, cool. I just got to shoot an Octorok with a lightning arrow, and they're happy. And they don't care that it was 15 frames per second for a small dip. What were you saying there, Rich?
I was going to point out, like, I don't think we've talked about it on this podcast, but like I posted a while ago, like I posted my hot take that like Microsoft I already feel like they're too late to the game. And and I didn't explain any further. I just left after that. But like, when Cary made his video, which was now like 2 years ago, I want to say, Cary,
it's a year and change now at this point.
A year and change, that like Xbox Series S, you know, could be a handheld. And this was like years after you made the post on Resetera.
Yeah.
Like when you made that video, it was very prescient and very of the time. And then like now, a year and a half later, it's like if you drop a handheld after Switch 2, like I don't know, you might be too late to the game.
Yeah,
for Microsoft.
It's well, whatever. I mean, at this point, like, you know, if they become third party, whatever. I really like Indiana Jones, and if they become a third party publisher like Sega, I don't care. As long as they keep Game Pass going. If they don't have Game Pass going, then like, okay, well then I'll have to start picking and choosing what I'm going to get from there. But right now, like this year coming just from Microsoft alone, like Doom Dark Ages, Avowed, Fable, I'm like,
this year's crazy.
Game Pass is like going to like, the train is coming. And if they had a handheld for this suite of games coming, it's like, goodness gracious, guys, you picked the worst year to not do this.
And the thing is, too, is that Nintendo gave Microsoft all the time in the world to release
Yes,
one.
they did.
I mean, the fact that
did.
we are waiting still for the Switch 2, this is just a huge opportunity for Microsoft that they didn't take.
Right. Yeah. That's so even in the Xbox era podcast that I was on, I was like, the only thing that Microsoft could do to hope to do anything is the PlayStation 2 move that they did on Dreamcast, is let Dreamcast make their announcement and then just make another announcement, follow right up, and be like $299, and just leave the room. Right, just leave the room, just dazzle, you know, do a little razzle dazzle, give some crazy price for it, but you need to do something. If you don't do anything, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, I play mostly on PC now, so it's as long as whatever's on PC, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, but we don't want to be beholden to Sony as our only producer of high-end console gaming.
I
don't
agree
want
with that.
Like, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
I mean, most of the games that I still think Astrobot's going to come to PC. We'll see. I'm okay with I think it's down to what, like 12-month cadence now. A year is a bit long. If they get that down, I mean, as long as it's coming to PC, that's fine by me. But like, I don't know, dude. I have no idea what the future is going to hold for them, but like they're getting burned on both ends, and I don't know how they're going to recover if they don't have something to respond with.
But I think the point that Russ is making is that we don't want Sony to have that much power, just because if you just have one big power, then guess what? They can do whatever they want. They can charge whatever they want, and they can tell everybody, screw you. You can't have what you can't. We don't do that. Screw you. That's not how it works. We are in charge now. It's just, you're screwed.
Well,
Microsoft
what I would say
could hold PlayStation back, and now they can't. What were you going to say, Russ?
Yeah. I was going to say, if Microsoft goes under, I also would want Sony to become a third-party publisher. Like that's what I would want to see. You know what I
mean,
mean? Let's just
oh,
move it
like-
all to PC if we don't have competition in the console space.
So for me, like, I don't, like, I'm so far in the PC space that I don't know, like, I've never considered PC outside of the space. Like, when people, whenever they're like, you know, whenever things come up and they're like, oh, look at all these exclusives, I'm like, those are on PC. Like, that's not exclusive. That's exactly the opposite of that word. I've always looked at it through that lens. So I mean, most of the stuff that Sony's doing will eventually get to PC. There's been a few holdouts there, and like even Bloodborne is now like on PC. Like the latest improvements on Shad PS4 are like really good. So
On Steam Deck even.
yeah, so it's like, okay, well, I have emulation. I don't want to resort to emulation for that type of stuff. I would like an official release. But I know that I have that opportunity now, and I'm glad that that exists. So, like, PC is this ultimate mecca for me of, like, I know that there's going to be something there. So, yeah, I mean, I wish but I feel like since Microsoft has, you could say, diluted their appeal because now they don't really have exclusives. Their exclusive is Game Pass, right? And for a lot of people, they don't really want Game Pass. Some people are just like, you know what? I don't want to rent games. I want to own games. And I can get behind that. But if that is your exclusive, that's like a whole like yes or no answer, right? Like if I feel like there's like a bunch of different games that are like kind of like tentpoles for your system, that doesn't exist for Microsoft anymore. All of those come out to PC day one. So there's less of a reason to, and like they're also moving to the cloud, and now everything is an Xbox, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know where Microsoft is going to land with all this, and obviously they know, you know, Game Pass is making money, so at some point they don't care. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for any particular endpoint, but I'm going to be on PC.
That's fair. All right. The last thing that I want to talk about today, I clicked at the bottom of our show notes, and I looked at this day in gaming history, and there's a big game that came out 28 years ago today, and that is Diablo. One of my all-time favorite games. This is the 28-year anniversary of Diablo. I have heard that there's rumors that Diablo is coming, like the original Diablo is coming to PC Game Pass.
Ooh.
Which would be really cool because I would love to play that game again. I remember playing it so much back when I was in the Army. It was just so much fun. And then I wanted to play Diablo 2, but Blizzard kept delaying it over and over and over again. And it took them so long to finally get it out that I never picked it up. I was playing either Ultima Online or EverQuest at that point. And I just wasn't interested in playing Diablo anymore.
What a golden era.
Oh, it was so good. But 1997, Diablo was released on Windows in the US, and I just have a lot of fond memories for playing Diablo. Rich, did you play that back in the day?
No, I think I started with Diablo 2 and even then didn't play very much. And every game of that genre that I've tried afterwards, it has never really clicked with me. Like everything from like, what was the indie one on Steam that came out like in the late aughts, I want to say?
Torchlight?
Hearthstone?
Torchlight. Torchlight. It was Torchlight. I tried that. I'm even going to go as far as like Borderlands never clicked with me. Like anything of this like loot style action RPG just never worked out for me for some reason.
And I know that Russ, you never played Diablo until Diablo 4, right?
Yeah, I didn't play any games in like 97 when this came out at all. This was like a whole like there's a time frame from like 95 to 2000. I didn't play anything. But then in 2000, when I joined the Navy, I met a bunch of other people. And I remember my roommate here in Hawaii in 2001, when I got here, he played Diablo 2 like all the time. And he was like, that was his Friday night, is he would eat an entire box of Raisin Bran and he would just like play that. And so I got these fond memories
to choose.
I know, but he was kind of a health guy too. Like he would take these massive swings where he would be like super unhealthy and then super healthy, and his super unhealthy was eating Raisin Bran while playing Diablo for like 12 hours straight. And so those are my memories. But yeah, it wasn't until Diablo 4 that I really hunkered down and started playing it. And I gave that a good, 12 hours or so. But that was, I think the only loot game that's ever worked with me is Destiny. And that's it. And really just the first one as opposed to the second one too. So
Well, happy birthday to Diablo. I had a podcast. It was called 143 Pixels. It's like I don't do it anymore, although it's something I always toy with bringing back. And I interviewed David Brevik, who's the guy who created Diablo, and we talked about his favorite game of all time, which was EverQuest, and that's where he met his wife in EverQuest. So awesome. Even he wasn't playing cool. Diablo 2, I guess. But hey, that's going to do it for our first episode of the new year. Before we get out of here, though, I need everybody to talk about the games, or not the games, the videos that they've got coming out. Rich, what do you got coming, man?
That's a good question. I have basically a Valve in 2025 video coming soon. So that's what I'm going to be working on. Yeah, I think this is an interesting year where my speculation is that it's not going to be a heavy Steam Deck year, but it's going to be a very heavy Valve year. So I want to talk about that.
Did you see the voice,
Oh yeah, of course.
The voice guy thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that Half-Life is coming this year? Like, make a prediction. Yes or no?
My prediction is yes. Yeah. So like, it's not just that. They also did a family and friends. They did a family and friends playtest.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So that's not to say it's late in development, but I think they've been ramping up on development for a long time. They have artists, they have voice actors. I think it's on the latter, let's say half, but it's Valve, so
yeah,
it's gonna.
My prediction would be yes.
We go back to the beginning of the episode. None of us got invites to family and friends. Just so you know.
Yeah, neither family nor friends.
Nope,
that's right.
Here. No,
Carrie,
sir.
you used up all your tokens.
I did.
You could have saved them to play Half-Life 3.
I could have just used them for good. I chose to just squander my tokens.
Yeah. What video you got play? Oh well, you were nodding yes that you think Half-Life 3 is coming this year.
Yes, yeah, I want to believe. It's gonna be super AI focused. They're going to use AI to like a very cool way that we haven't thought of before, and it's going to be
up on you.
It's just, boop, I'm gone. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's. I'm just excited that could, like, Half-Life 3. I think GTA 6 is going to get delayed till next year, to be honest. But I don't think it's coming.
We may live in a world where we see Half-Life 3 before GTA 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like that whole thing, because this whole year is looking like if Half-Life 3 came and if GTA 6 still came out this year, and with everything else that's coming out this year, this is going to be like a hallmark year of video games where
1998 all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm finishing up my review on the new GPT-Win Mini. Russ, I think you would love this finish because it is so resistant to fingerprints like crazy.
Oh my goodness.
That looks nice.
Yeah. It's
a little
like
jealous.
It's like it's almost like a velvety feeling to it. Also,
speaking my language.
I have to take some thermal imaging of it at like different wattages. For me, it feels like it's even more resistant to external thermal heat by quite a few watts. They also default this thing, which is outrageous to be honest, but they started like at least what they handed to me. I don't think that they should, but they have it running at 28 watt, which the old one was at 20. That they gave it out. Even to me, they gave it to me at 20. So they're
What's the battery size?
It's 45 watt hour. So pushing 28 watts, you're going to be like total system power, you're around like 40, 45. So you're going to have like 1 hour of battery life on this, which is not like even like, okay, great. Good job, guys. It can run there. And I don't like how it feels at 28 watt. Like after like 10 minutes, you can feel the warmth. So I don't recommend it for a host of reasons. Most of them being battery related. So
that's a Game Gear.
Yeah. So, but like all told, everything that they did, the white finish on this is my absolute favorite. And then I also have a surprise video that's coming this week. So hope to get that done.
Go to youtube.com/thefox to be surprised. Russ, no surprises there. What are you working on? Oh, you're going
I'm leaving. Yeah, I'm leaving in a couple days for CES, so I'm trying to maybe get a couple videos loaded up ahead of time. I hit 600,000 subscribers on the channel like a week ago.
Hey, congrats, man.
Thank you. And I always try to stop and pause and just kind of thank people for that. And so I did a like Q&A thing where I've got, a bunch of questions and stuff. So across all my social media. So if I got time today, I'm going to try to sit down, record all of that. So you might see the same shirt in that video. And then, I have the Neo Pocket Evo. It's like the high-end Android handheld. I don't know if I got enough time to make a whole review on it before I leave. So we'll see how that goes. I'll at least start from filming today and see if I can get that done. If not, then I'm planning on making videos at CES this year. So I like when I get home, like to the hotel room at night, if I've got good footage. I got a mic now that I bought or I got for Christmas. And so I'm going to use that to maybe record a video in the hotel room. Be like, hey, this is all the cool stuff I saw today. You know what I mean? So that might be really cool, especially because AMD and Lenovo are looking to have this really interesting press conference that I got invited to. And so maybe I can make like, one of those like PC World, PC Gamer videos like, hey, we're here at CES kind of thing. Like maybe you'll see that from me. I don't know.
Don't forget to let Pierre Lou know that we need
our
more
friends
tokens.
and family.
Yeah, I'm like 5 tokens, please.
5 tokens.
Yeah, remember? You're like, I got to use these.
Can I spend half a token?
Russ, what you should do when you get to 1 million subscribers, you should have like the tally going up and like have like your like studio, but like have like it pan to you and then like do like a record scratch, like you're probably wondering how I got here.
I don't know either.
Well, that's going to do it for the Nerd Nest podcast today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I hope you had a great little vacation. And Russ, I can't wait to see whatever you post in 3 days when you're at CES. Jealous that I'm not there.
Yeah.
But everybody, have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.